LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Baseball is back, and the first pitch is on Netflix. The New York Yankees, led by seven-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the San Francisco Bay to take on Rafael Devers' San Francisco Giants. This season kicks off with one exclusive opening night game. Watch MLB Opening Night, the New York Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, live on Netflix. Wednesday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Ospreys Eyrie. Tonight on the podcast, we are going to discuss the minutes that have come out, rather explosive minutes that have come out from the council meeting with the WRU and our chairman, Lance Bradley. We'll look at the ins and outs of the team. And of course, we will also discuss that Dan Edwards drop goal and the game coming up against Benetton. I'm joined today by Nick, Grant, and Dafydd. How are we all doing, gents?
All good.
All good.
Good,
All good,
thanks.
thank you.
Yeah, good.
Perfect. So I think let's start with like the ins and outs. We have another player going across the border, joining Gloucester pretty soon. Our whole team might end up there by the looks of it. Cognisinger has signed with Gloucester for next season. What do we make of that?
I repeat what I said when other people are left right now. You can't blame people for getting out of Welsh rugby right now. His contract is up, isn't it, as well? And it'll be a loss because he's had the best season he's had for us. You know, his injury has like dampened a lot of what his first season. But when he's played for us, and surprisingly when he's playing inside centre as well as outside centre, you know, he's shown what he can do as a rugby player. It's been a pleasure to watch, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah, he's been a great addition to the squad, and it's exactly the type of player that we needed, someone with versatility. I know, Grant, you said about his injuries have hampered a lot of that, but when he's been on the field for us, he's been absolutely fantastic, and that's the type of player that holds you together when you need those experienced pros to step up to the plate and deliver for the club, you know.
Yeah, and you know, surely I understand from his point of view. He's English, and if he's been offered a contract, lost it. But he's the type of player in different times we would have wanted to hang on to, because he does add depth, and he's as you say, can play 12 or 13, and he's equally adept at both. So yeah, I think it's a big loss, but unfortunately, it shows where we are as a club and all the uncertainty there are around the Ospreys at this current point of time.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. And I don't know if this is, we were just chatting off air briefly about how players at these clubs will have their contracts honoured by WRU. Is that extended to players who are not Welsh qualified? Do we know? Is there different rules around Welsh qualified players? Maybe this is a question that no one has the answer to, but
I haven't seen anything in the documentation that I've read that it's Welsh qualified and non-Welsh qualified specific. There's an agenda to reduce non-Welsh qualified, but I've not seen anything specifically around a clause around that honouring contracts which will only apply to Welsh qualified.
I think it would probably be discriminatory if you made that judgment, and also the process is that you can hold the Welsh Rugby Union accountable in a sense for that decision to disband the Ospreys, and therefore the player needs to be protected. And my understanding is that it's the contract rather than the player qualified to play for whoever. It's the contract that is to be honoured rather than where that player's from, I suppose.
okay.
Yeah, the thing as well is that you know, if a player has a contract, and from our understanding, it's difficult to have absolute clarity in this. We've got a number of players in that situation as Cocasinga who are potentially out of contract this summer, and you could hardly blame anyone for looking for opportunities elsewhere, whether they're Welsh qualified or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And Dafydd mentioned there, we are talking about the disbanding of the Ospreys as a region, which kind of leads us neatly onto the minutes that have been released by Swansea Council of a meeting, a private meeting, as it was supposed to be between Lance Bradley, Abby Turney, and Swansea Council. Swansea Council released these minutes because there was claims by Abby Turney in the press, and it was mirrored by Dave Redden in a recent interview on Scrum 5, that there are no concrete plans or information on which team is going to be disbanded. Now, the highlights of this for me would be that it looks pretty blatant that it's been said by the chairman of the Ospreys that Y11's plan, if they do end up purchasing Cardiff, is to wind the Ospreys up or roll them into Cardiff or whatever that would be, but there would be no professional rugby, men's rugby team anyway, in Swansea at that time. So yeah, reasons for that were given. One being that the Ospreys are losing 2.5 million a year, and it doesn't seem to be any way to reconcile that, despite the fact that Swansea Council are saying that that was not the information they were given, not a year ago when they were deciding to redevelop St. Helens. So yeah, I'm just wondering what you make of all of this, because quite frankly, I think it's incredibly damning and it's incredibly sad.
It contradicts other statements that have been made publicly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So whether there's anything around context here, in terms of is it a big if around if we don't get the investment, if we don't move to St. Helens, then there's no prospect of turning the finances around. You can understand that, because we need to get into St. Helens ASAP to get numbers back up. Yeah. But we've heard directly from the WRU several times. We've got this minuted. We've had Osprey Supporters Club have had, again, confidential meetings where we've shared as much as we can with various people, and you cannot believe everything that's been said supposedly in all of these meetings. So either things have been taken out of context, which is pretty tough when you got meetings where minutes have been agreed between parties as well. So to me, it just feels like a shambles still.
It is shambolic, and I think if you look at the Welsh Rugby Union's approach to that process of meeting Swansea City Council with Y11, they start off by not taking minutes themselves, which is amateur hour. When you're a CEO of a £100 million business turnover and you turn up to a meeting with such importance with the parties involved, Swansea City Council, you don't come with someone to take notes for you. That's unforgivable as far as someone who's supposed to be running our rugby in Wales. And then to go a step further then and to question the minutes that were taken by said Swansea City Council, who had legal representatives there and note takers, and he did everything right. And then for them to actually, I think what I understand is that they requested a Freedom of Information Act, and then not understand that the Freedom of Information Act actually releases it to the public domain. I mean,
there's a clue in the name in it.
Sorry?
There's a clue in the name, Freedom of Information.
Well, exactly. To go from the beginning of the situation where you neglect to bring a note taker with you for posterity, for accuracy, for accountability, and then to end up complaining that the freedom of information actually is the freedom of information for everybody, and to not understand that process and be the person at the top of the Welsh Rugby Union. If all that is true, okay, then I mean, we're not just talking about the future of the Ospreys now. I mean, how on earth does anybody have any confidence whatsoever in the leadership of the Welsh Rugby Union if that's your process and that's your methodology? I mean,
I
that
think
shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen it certainly wouldn't happen in education.
no.
It wouldn't happen it shouldn't happen in the business, private sector and the business world.
I,
Or in,
I I worked obviously for a number of years for Swansea Council, and I worked very closely with all the people in that meeting. And they're apolitical, so obviously Rob Stewart's a politician, I understand that. But all the other people there from Swansea Council are former colleagues of mine. They've got no skin in this game. They wouldn't, their interpretation or minutes or notes, whatever, from that meeting are a fair reflection of what was said. So anything that's been said subsequently, uh, calls into question the trustworthiness of the Welsh Rugby Union representative and ours, if I'm honest with you as well.
yeah,
And my view is that is a fair reflection, of not verbatim minutes of the meeting. Obviously, that rarely happens in any meeting, but they're a fair reflection of what was said there. And the Welsh Rugby Union and Lance Bradley went into that meeting to explain that there wouldn't be a men's professional team in the Swansea, Neath, Port Talbot, Aberafan area. There were other options which they were keen to discuss, but that was for me the crux of the meeting. And obviously, and I think what was quite telling was at the end, there were two comments I think from Lance Bradley around we will merge with Swansea RFC, the Whites, who have subsequently have come out and said, we don't know anything about this. So we will retain that and we'll play in Super Rugby Cymru. And also that we're very keen to develop a women's team, which might well be true. But it's quite damning, really, and it's quite embarrassing for a game for the and then to be called into question us as supporters not trusting the Welsh Rugby Union when their position is changed so often, and subsequently in other podcasts and questioning the Welsh Rugby Union, but well, it's not decided. We don't know who the licenses are going to go to. It's their position is changing as things come out, and
yeah.
that is very, very upsetting and disconcerting.
Yeah. What I find interesting there's something I find very interesting in the document, actually, which was, firstly, as you said, it makes our representative, or well, ours, the chairman of the club, let's call a spade, look like he's been posting pictures of drinks online saying no one knows what's happening while he's been selling staff, players, fans, and a community down the river, which, if I was him, I'd sit there and think long and hard about how I had represented myself in the public domain while discussing these things in private, if that is true. I think it's a shit look, quite frankly. Um, at the end of the document, at the end of the minutes, they talked about the WRU still receiving Welsh Government grants, and they blacked out what the answer to that was. So we don't know. But what's interesting to hear is that, like, in the second largest city in Wales, if they're still receiving grants from the Welsh government, if they are, which, you know, we don't know, we're not privy to that information, and then they're just shutting down rugby in that area, when a vast amount of like the grants that they are getting will be coming from that population. It is, to my mind, it is just more of this kind of like do as you're told, and I almost feel now like they're going to accept, or they're willing to accept the idea that us as fans won't go on to support another region or whatever, but they're hoping that they'll get those numbers back in a certain decade or a certain amount of time. I feel like we're just being left behind now. We're like old news, old money, not interested. We'll start again. And it's just incredibly disappointing. It's incredibly disappointing across the board. The other thing that I think is quite interesting, and I'm not sure if anyone else has noticed this, or maybe I'm making it up and you can tell me I'm chatting complete shite if you want to, which wouldn't be the first time and it won't be the last. As performances have picked up in the regions and as performances have picked up with Wales, there's been a move away from saying we need to make it better for the players, and now the entire focus is on financials. So when it first started, it was about this kind of like, oh, like look at the national side and look at the regions and we're not competitive and da 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 da. Well, who knows in the next few weeks, and we'll get on to talk about this later, we could end up with a few teams competing in a postseason, and the national team's performances, according to everyone across the board, seem to be more coherent and getting better. And now they've shifted to say, well, there's no money there now. Like, because, you can't turn around and say that the regions aren't producing players because they clearly are. It,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else has noticed that or think that's something that's
No,
happening,
it's
but
a good point.
Yeah, I think you're right in your assessment and your observation, because it's less apparent that the standard of rugby is less of an issue now than it was, particularly with the likes of Leinster dipping a little bit. Ireland and England becoming less consistent, or being less consistent this year than they have in the past. So you are right. It's not a strong argument that we haven't got players in Wales, because the reason why England are raiding our schools and our clubs and our regions is because they are talented. So we do produce talent. There are enough players for four. It's just that the four haven't been supported properly. And there's got to be a way. I mean, this is going to be another pod or another argument, or maybe that argument's gone. But there are ways of ensuring that the regions can be supported better. It's not just about money. It's about fairness. Look at the way Tandy has reached out and let those players go back to the clubs who need game time, and not just for the player, but the regions need them as well. And he's been fair to everyone. Everyone's had their players back. So it's not just about money. But I just think that the people in the leadership of the Welsh Rugby Union, they've backed themselves into a corner now, thinking that if we pick on the regions, they think it's like this kind of like they think that social media and the odd pundit speaks for the whole nation, and they've backed this horse that it's all to do with the regions. Let's rip it up and start again. Nice little project for Reading to have on his CV. This shiny new thing that he's created in Welsh rugby. With 12 satellites, badly thought out, and all of a sudden it's all falling apart. But he's not going to back down on it.
Yeah.
So, I think there's holes in all their arguments. The finances, they can't, there isn't a finite amount of money. I understand that. And if we want to raise the funding to the regions and enrich the pathway and the female game and the other bits and pieces that they want to raise the stuff, and I understand all that. But it seems that there's a price tag on regional rugby and nothing on anything else. Like going back to this thing about the Ospreys losing 2.5 million. Yeah, okay. And the last 2 years have been really tough. But let's not pretend that the other three regions are making loads of money. They're not.
Or any club
Oh, any club, exactly.
in the world.
And show me any area or element of Welsh rugby that's making any money now. The pathway doesn't make money. You put money into it. Women's rugby is not going to make money, but you put money into it. So none of it is going to balance. The balance comes right at the end of it all when you have got a winning Welsh rugby team and you fill the Millennium Stadium 5 or 6 times a year. That's where the money comes in. How you get there is our argument. But to make out that oh well, we've got to get rid of the Ospreys because there's 2.5 million, as if we're the only ones.
Yeah, no, that's true. And then what they turn around and say then is, and what I've heard coming out recently is, well, who's got a plan B then? I don't know if anyone else has heard that, but I know Dave Redding was on Scrum Prime saying, who's got a plan B as well? Well, mate, I'm not on like hundreds of thousands of pounds a year to come up with a bloody plan B. Do you know what? Give me the information that I need, and maybe I
I
can
thought
dig
Plan
it
B was 4 regions
out.
because in the consultation it was 2, 3, or 4.
Well, we've crossed out 2 now, haven't we? So yeah,
Yeah.
there's one alternative left there, isn't there?
And it's like any cake. You can split a cake up in different ways. So even if we, as a worst case scenario, had let's be honest, the Welsh Rugby Union love Cardiff. So with Cardiff, we're the super club, and had, I don't know, let's just keep the figures easy. Sort of it's a 20 million budget. they get 8 million, and the rest of us get have the money that's left. At least it's still retaining the pathways. There are ways in which you can retain 4 teams and do the other stuff they want to do as well. Because you just, the cake is the same size. How you split it is, whether it's 2, 3, or 4, is to be decided.
The gap in all this as well is that they are going to go, if they go to 12. Look, they're talking about the new pathway and the new academies being centered around the SRC clubs. But the SRC clubs are not distributed fairly geographically anyway.
No.
And they're not distributed by population. They're literally 12 clubs who are good at rugby because they've been run well and they've got a couple of good, they've got a legacy of a strong club, or they've got a legacy of a good coaching setup, like Llandudno, for example. Okay. But you can put a satellite in Llandudno, Llanelli, and Carmarthen, and you've got a very, very small triangle there to service the whole of Pembrokeshire. That's not a strategic look at how you implement a brand new academy structure that, according to Reading, and this is the buzzword that I think is just laughable. We don't want kids to have opportunities. We want the opportunities to find the kids. I mean, if anything says David Brent and failure, that is it. But you can't tell me that anyone in the world would set up an academy system with a tiny little triangle. Look at us. I mean, we'd have one in Aberafon, one possibly in Neath if they went to 12, one in Swansea, one in Bridgend. I mean, you've got 4 satellites there, and like I said, you've got nothing in Mid Wales, one in North Wales, and nothing in Pembrokeshire. And they're saying that that's going to be better than what we've got now. Why 12? I mean, it's again, it's just like off the back of a fag packet, thinking that this is how we're going to do things, and none of it is particularly innovative and shiny. It's just literally, we'll do it this way, and if I can say 12, it means that I can justify making a massive cut and getting rid of a region. And if they have these 12 satellites and they all work and they're wonderful, and we've got a fantastic generation of next players and the National Academy, we've only got 3 places for youngsters to go and get new contracts. So our under-20s might win the Grand Slam in 5 years' time. Where are they going to go? You're not going to get 30 boys who are Grand Slam under-20s winners going to play SRC rugby, because the SRC is a semi-professional league, and it is literally, it's nowhere near as a high standard as the Championship in England, or even Nat 1, really, to a lot of them. So where do you get all these primed, on the verge of professional contract players going if you've only got 3 available places for professional rugby in Wales? And below it, a massive gap. So they're not looking at the problem, or they're not looking at what could be problematic for them. They could end up, potentially, with under-20s winning Grand Slams, Wales winning Grand Slams, and get the Six Nations, the World Cup finals again. We could end up with possibly a European Cup winner, or a URC winner. So we all of a sudden, the pro game is looking really, really good, but you're preventing any youngsters getting into those squads because there's a limited number of places. There's no look at that development, and there's no bridging the gap between semi and pro rugby has not been addressed, and they haven't addressed the bridging of the gaps between schools and the academies and the SRC at all. There's no detail, nothing.
No.
Yeah. Well, they want
us to blindly follow them. People who don't like taking minutes.
Yeah. Well, they've had. I think they said they've had people review it, and they've had people take a look at it, and we all know how WRU reviews and outsourcing for the reviews go. So I'm sure we can all be confident that the right thing will be done in the end. So, shall we talk a bit of rugby?
Yeah.
Well, Wales won a game. I feel like we should all kind of like mention that. Well, they won a Six Nations game, obviously beat Japan, but they won a Six Nations game. And I would say that it was a certain Ospreys fly half who had an absolute stormer of a game. Who wants to start talking about an absolutely world-class drop goal? Because tell you what, they don't get much sweeter than that today. Right?
We see him about once a month if you watch the Ospreys all the time. Isn't
I don't know
nothing
if you get.
new, is it?
I
And
don't know if
the
you're
Ospreys
getting
did
that
put out
bounce of.
a video on social media the other day around that as well, didn't they? Sure. Yeah, look at the drop. No, not that one. Or was it that one? Or that one? Or that one? Or that one? Not scoring 40 yards all the time. And yeah, when he's on form, he's an absolute pleasure to watch, isn't he? There's a bit of confidence and a bit of go forward ball as well, which really suits his games, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot has been said about the fact that uh, in the Ospreys, we do tend to attack with two distributors. Obviously, Jack Walsh is a brilliant second distributor, and sometimes he's either side of the ruck, sometimes he comes in wider later in the phases. But we tend to not so much use runners off nine as a kind of a curtain in front, and then the outside half calls it when he thinks it's ready, which is, a very common way to attack as a 10. That's the way we've been set up to play Wales, but it does rely on winning those collisions, getting good ball carriers, getting pace in the game. And it's going to be very difficult to do it against England in Twickenham in the first game. It's going to be even harder to do it against a really good French side. So to be judgmental of Dan in that kind of attacking shape was always going to be a little bit harsh, I think. Costello came in against Scotland, did really, really well, because he had go forward and he was able to pick his moment to take the ball and attack. So, there's slight differences in the way that the Ospreys attack and the way that Wales attacks. Both rely on good go forward, like any rugby. But I think he showed his hand really well. I thought he was really good against Ireland. Anyway, playing away in Dublin really, really good Welsh sides have gone there and been absolutely hammered. Littered with Grand Slam winners and semi-final, World Cup semi-final players. So to have gone there and been in the fight and only have a 10-point deficit in Dublin against, arguably one of the top sides in the world, I think is really admirable for Dan and for him to play like he did against Italy and to take us home as well. I thought was brilliant, a dominant performance, full of cheekiness, full of confidence, and it came no surprise to the Osprey supporters, to be honest. And I think I don't like this kind of personalising against him and Costello. They're both very talented young players. They've both got very similar attributes as well. They both like attacking. They're no shrinking violets. Probably different types of outside halves that we've had in the last 10 years with people like Dan Biggar and Anscombe, who are a bit more controlling, a bit more reserved. They are risk takers. And with that, there will be errors. But when it comes off, it's brilliant. And I thought he was outstanding. The only regret is that they didn't go for 3 points sometime in the game and he'd have gone through the card.
He carried out the
It would
full,
be really,
full,
really good.
full set.
But it's great, I mean, I think there's so many good performances throughout the team. But for Dan and for an outside half to play like he did, particularly with that drop goal, I just thought, and the drop goal came straight after the try, didn't it?
Yeah.
It just shows like he was in the groove, in that first half. I think brilliant.
I've got nothing to add on that, but I'd like to just, as an Osprey Eyrie podcast, just give a shout out to Dewi Lake and the way he's led the team. He didn't have his best game, I'm sure he'll admit, at Twickenham, but since then he's been absolutely superb. His line-out's been great, his carrying's been great, and also the way he speaks.
Yeah.
Post game, he's had some very difficult interviews to do since he's probably captained them more than Jack, I think, probably over the last, because Jack's been injured so much. But he's been absolutely superb. So I'm really, really, really pleased for Dewi because to me he looks up with Dan Sheehan the best two hookers in the competition.
There is a legitimate discussion about whether you change the captaincy because the journey, I hate that term, the journey, but when you think about where we started in the autumn, inheriting that captaincy through injury, having to carry the pressure and, to carry the pressure like he did. And like you say, the interviews are brilliant. He carries himself perfectly. Such a good role model and a strong character. And, you know, I don't want to put a mockers on things like, but those are the types of people who captain the Lions because they can take pressure,
Mhm.
they can front up to opposition. And who knows? I mean, if Jack or if Dewi captain Wales over the next 3 or 4 years successfully, and we become more of a force, you know, that's the type of person who you'll want to say, yeah, here we are, you got to lead these guys into battle. And he does. He leads by example, like no one else really, I think, around. And it's the spirit of Alan Wynne, isn't it? You know,
Mhm.
spirit of Tipperick. You just, you know, he carries himself so well, like you said, and he is inspiration and everything he does, whether it's a turnover, a carry, you know, he's had his difficulties with the line out, not all himself, but when the line out goes wrong, the hooker is the one who takes the heat, not the one who calls it, not the lifters, you know, not the jumper. It's the hooker who takes the heat to the layperson. And I just think that he's been absolutely brilliant, and I'm really, really proud of his performance, to be honest.
Mhm.
And it's great that he's from Bridgend. You know, he's a Llanganoid boy. They're all very proud of him up in the Ysgol Llanganoid. And you know, I just think that he's a great Osprey, and it's a shame to see him go. But you know, he's done it with real urddas, as they say in Welsh.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the only reason why maybe the captaincy goes back is because he gets everything, tends to be substituted on 50, 60 minutes.
Mhm.
But they co-captain, don't they? And I think that, like, if you look at Jack and Dewi, they have similar, like, lead by example, you know?
Yeah, he doesn't leave anything
Um,
on the pitch, does he, Derry?
yeah,
No.
no, exactly. But I just think that's something that Tandy's got out of them as well. Like, in general, if you look at the front rows and you look at, like, the forward pack in general, but, like, particularly I thought the front rows, he's clearly gone out and said, go out there, empty the tank, hit everything that comes your way, smash rucks, smash scrums, score, what is probably in like 10 years' time when I'm retelling the story, a full length of the pitch try against Ireland. Like, and then you come off. It's lovely to see a team of players playing with a smile on their face and they look like they're enjoying.
Mm.
And they've been through a lot. Dewi's been through a lot. If you think, as you said, the interviews he's had to like kind of front up to, and to then see that rewarded with a win, which was, I would say, comfortable in the end, and then just see, like, I was so happy for them. I was so happy for Derry. I was so happy for Dannon as well. Like, considering kind of some of the stick they'd come in for over the months or whatnot. It was lovely to see. Really, really nice to see all our hard work pay off, and yeah, um, yeah, I thought it was brilliant to see two players from the Ospreys having such a pivotal role in that.
Or
You
in the
know.
half of rugby that we won in style, as opposed to the second half where Italy decided not to carry on kicking the leather off the ball, which worked against England, tightened it up, started moving the ball around, and caused us some right problems. But which is what we were expecting from the start. So the fact that we got a good head start by half time, yeah, that won us the game, didn't it?
Yeah.
Our first half.
All right. If everyone enjoys what they're listening to, please drop us a follow, subscribe. Everything helps. And we'll have more hot takes on the Ospreys and Welsh rugby in general coming your way. There have been community games, I believe, and our chief community result officer, Grant, is here to share those with us. And he's going to ask if we can see a screen in a second, so everyone.
I will be saying that now. That's started. Hang on. Share. Right. I'm not going to say it.
Can see the screen.
Right, that was the last game we played. That's where we ended up. Right, community results. SRC, just the one game. Swansea 20, Pontypool 18. Good win for Swansea again. They've had a real good turnaround in results. Premiership, Neath 38, Newbridge 22. Neath via fourth place, sitting in the Premiership. I don't know if they will go any further up than that, but they probably won't go down either. Championship East, Glamorgan Wanderers 43, Bridgend Athletic 3. Dunvant 35, Crummock 7. Bear with me while I just clear the bottom of the screen. Right, sorry. Ken Figgill, 19, Bonamine 5, localish derby there. And finishing off Championship West, Trebanos 0, Tart Steel with a good away win, 26 points there. National League 2 West Central, Aberafon Quins 49, Southgower 16, good home win for the Quins there. National 5 League 5 West Central, Glencorrwg 19, Dunvant Athletic 24, and Pyle 0, Pontrhydyfen 25. And finally, National League 2 West, T Cross 21, Penclawdd 0. That's it for the community results.
Can I add one, Grant?
Oh,
Seven Sisters did beat Baglan 33-12.
what day was that on? I missed that.
That was Saturday.
Oh,
But it was a rearranged game because it was, I think it was either a cup weekend or sorry, it might have been the week before that. Sorry, I missed a week.
that's all right.
No, you might have read that out last week, but I'll read it out again. So well done, Sam.
No bias, no bias
There you
on
go.
this.
No bias.
Seven
Lovely in
Sisters.
Baglan as well. I do like Baglan. People there are lovely. They're very nice.
Baglan's the Welsh Riviera.
Talbot's a great place. Talbot is brilliant.
Yes, unique place for Talbot.
Yeah, brilliant. Your wife's from Talbot, so it's great. Great place.
As someone from Bryn, I completely agree.
Oh, Bryn's a beautiful part. Beautiful part of the area.
Yeah. So, right, we have some URC to discuss. I noticed there was a couple of nils in those community results, and the Ospreys have a team that they did nil last season in Benetton on Saturday afternoon. What do you think, boys? What are we saying? Getting down to the business end of the season now. Probably don't have much room to get losses in there if we want to finish in those playoff places. Kind of the run in is important now, isn't it? Yeah. So what are we thinking?
Well, I'm looking at Benetton's form, and they've slid down the table, haven't they, over the last sort of 5 games, is it? A win, 2 losses, and 2 draws. It's quite an unusual set of results, isn't it? But depends how many internationals they get back, and because they make up not just the spine, they make up nearly every bone in the Italian national squad. So seeing a fully loaded Benetton will be a challenge for an away game for us, but we shall see.
Yeah. Well, they've had they've got Wayne Pivac coming, haven't they? And so
Play well before he arrives. Is that what you're saying?
well, it's one of those, isn't it? It almost feels like when Toby Booth said he was leaving mid-season, and then like it seemed to coincide with like a downturn in results, and eventually, obviously, Mark Jones came in earlier. But I wonder if there's a similar effect that's happening with this Benetton team, where it's like they've been told that their coach is going. And he's done really good work with Benetton, to be fair, if you think about where they were to where they are now. I mean, they've had a lot of money spent on them, but they're a good side now. And as you said, they contribute a lot of good players to the Italian squad. But I wonder if that's just affecting their form a bit, which is why those results are looking a bit all over the place with them.
I think for us, it's we the next 2 games, well, the next 3 games, we've got Ulster in the Cup as well, are key games, and I've been looking a little bit at the data. They don't score, a bit like Italy. That's the first team. They don't score a lot of tries. So if we can defend really well and keep our discipline on Saturday afternoon in Treviso, I think we definitely could be in the game. I think our attack is probably slightly stronger. But it's very much if we can do that. And as we've already alluded to, I think it's very much which players they get back. I'm hoping people like Mangello and that will have a week off because they've featured very heavily for Italy. But they'll still put some good players out. But we, as you said, to start off with, Jack, they were playing when we beat them, I think 43-0, was it last year in Swansea? Fekatoa and so on. So it's certainly a game we should be looking to get something out of and hopefully a win. But I do think we're, as you say, we're in the business end now, and I also think this isn't the time to bring experience to younger players and so on. From the pictures I've seen, it looks as if we're pretty strong. Everybody seems to be back training. So I go, over the next two games, the next two URC games, as strong as possible. Because if we don't get something out of those two games, I think it's going to be really difficult to finish in the top 8.
Do we know if Jack Morgan is going to be involved, or is he just back training and they're waiting to, see if there's reactions and stuff?
I spoke to him briefly in the who did we play? Was it the Ulster game? And he said I'm targeting the Connacht game, but the week after. But as you say, he's been very heavily pictured in and shown in the clips the team have put up. So he's there or thereabouts. But obviously we've got Harry, haven't we? If Harry has hardly played for Wales, so Harry can step in on Saturday, and let's leave Jack to the week after.
You'd like to think that the players who haven't had much game time with Wales are going to go straight back in. They need rugby. Okay, they sat there rested, dropped. I don't know in terms of where they've sat with the Welsh squad. So you'd like to see like of Deavesy straight back into the action as a minimum.
We're looking at a pack of something like Gareth Thomas, Sam Parry, Boulter, or Rhys Henry. You've got Ryan Smith, Fender possibly. Back row then, take your pick, someone like Harry Deaves, Morgan Morse, Moriarty, Ratty. Yeah. It's still a very, very good pack. A lot of them are first choice anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, the makings of a very strong pack, regardless of getting players back.
Yeah, you look at the back row, isn't it? And you sprinkle Jack back into the mix that's already there, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't really mind how we feel in the back row. It's horses for courses, isn't it? Whether you want, we picked Ratty against Ulster for a reason in terms of having a big pack to cope with a big pack up against us. And so for Mark to decide what the opposition might do and what he wants to do with us now, up front anyway, especially the back row.
The one player I wouldn't expect to be had back is Dan. I think he will have probably this week off and come back in the week after. So a lot of responsibility on Jack Walsh to run the game at 10. So I could be wrong, but I wouldn't expect to see Dewi or Dan this Saturday.
Yeah, but you'd like to see the rest of them,
Oh, absolutely the rest. So
Hardy plus Reuben, both of them straight in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Walking in the centre with Keith.
Yeah, walking back.
Yeah.
So we should be able to put a really good 23 out, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I just think that this is another one of those games where, Dewi and Dan are out, obviously, but you can just take a look at the strength and the depth that this squad has of like really good club players and URC level players that you just feel like they shouldn't be. Again, maybe I'm being one-eyed. This is an Ospreys podcast, so it's to be expected. Like they shouldn't be losing to this Benetton team whose form has been up or down. Like the names that we're mentioning are players that are, either involved in national squads or have been knocking on the door or have, been involved previously. And I think that like it's a team that can go out, and do a good job. It is away from home, so it changes things a little bit, but I don't see why, Benetton, if you've got any aspirations to be getting into those playoffs, you've got to be beating Benetton, whose form has been pretty dire, and then up or down in the last 5 games. And then that takes a little bit of pressure off a trip to Connacht as well, which could be a bit trickier. But
they've got a lot of injuries at the moment, haven't they?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many are long term, but they were saying last week that they got about 18 injuries. So they're in a bit of a difficult situation. Going back to the Treviso team, you've got people like, is it Ruzzo, Canone, Gabisi, Liner, Spaniolo, Ferrari, those players, Ferrari's injured obviously, but they've all been heavily involved in Italy. They're not going to be playing next week. But then there's a few boys like Jacob Umaga, Fekatoa. So they've got backup players, a lot of Argentinian players as well. But like you said, Grant, their form has been so bad. The drop off between the likes of Liner and Canone and Negri as well, I think, isn't it? And what's
He's
the
long-term
Yellow as
injured.
well.
Yeah,
sorry?
yeah. He's
Yeah.
long-term injured, I think.
Yeah, so those kind of premium Italian Minoncello, Marine as well. Those players, there's a drop off then to the next lot. And we've got to strike with irons hot where we don't have, thankfully, touch wood, we don't have injury problems. We've got our strong second choice and squad pro players there at our disposal. We are looking at if we're serious about getting into the playoffs, our win column has got to be much, much much healthier. Don't forget,
Yeah,
we comfort ourselves with our narrow losses at the beginning of the season because we did have to go to South Africa and we did have tough games.
yeah.
Now it seems to be that it's more favourable our running. Okay, not easy, but it's more favourable. Well, we've got to strike now, haven't we? Because it's one thing saying, "Oh yeah, Cardiff are at the top of the league because they had an easy start." Well, they're still up there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've just been
Well,
implemented, haven't they? Wasn't it Leicester's
exactly.
first team? We expect their second and their third to be nearly as good. And they've done a job.
Yeah,
So yeah, we need to do the same, Dav. You're right. These tough games now are where the character comes through and the form comes through and the abilities of the boys come through because on paper we look like we should be competitive. We should be
yeah.
really competitive. Like I said,
I,
Benetton rest a chunk of the Italian squad, then but we've got to go for it, haven't we?
I think we're on 29 points, and we're going to need, I would say, at least 20 points to finish in the top eight out of our last six games. So yeah, we've got to go for this game, and we've got to get a
Yeah.
minimum. Well, I would say a minimum of point, but hopefully better than that.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of away fixtures as well. Again, we've got a little patch now, two URC games away.
Yeah,
We've got Ulster then in the Challenge Cup as well.
yeah, yeah. I'll say that the next three games are going to make or break our season.
Yeah.
I think you want to be in the top eight. You want to win the next two games, because there's no point aspiring to be a top eight side and then losing to Connacht, because I don't see Connacht as a top eight side.
No,
You can't aspire to be a top eight side and lose to Benetton.
no.
Or more away. You know,
Hard,
good
but you've
sides
got to do
win
him
them.
here. Yeah,
Good sides win those two games.
yeah.
You know,
But we didn't, again, you look at the URC, was it two, four wins and a draw in the last five?
Yeah.
No, you can't do any more than that, can you? Just
No.
got the momentum. We've got players back. No excuses.
Yeah. And that draw was against a world-beaten Dragon side, so we've got to keep that in mind.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Right. So I think we can take a look at what we think the results of this weekend is gonna be. I've got to be honest. I'm surprised you're not going out, Nick. You going out? Normally on your travels, or is the price of jet fuel putting you off nowadays?
Well, fortunately, I booked my flight some time ago, so I'm flying out Saturday morning, coming back on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, lovely.
So I'm going to have a glass of prosecco with Mr. Bradley, and we're going to have a photograph taken in the sun.
Yeah, see if he takes the picture and says we're not going anywhere. And make sure you keep some minutes.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Right, so what are we thinking? Grant, go on and give us a result. What are you?
Ospreys by 8, 4 tries. I think we just
Alright,
got momentum.
going bold. David, what are you thinking, mate?
Ospreys by 10.
Oh, Nick.
I'm going to be the misery guts. I'm going to go Benetton. I think we all get a point. Let's say Benetton by 6.
That's a bombshell. That's a
Sorry.
bombshell to end on. I tell you what, I'll bring spirits up. I'm gonna say Ospreys by 7. Why not?
I'll be absolutely delighted to be wrong.
Well, there you go. So I think that's it from us. So thank you to everyone for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. To all the people who contributed today. So Grant, have a good week. David, have a good week. Nick, have a good week, mate. And
Thank you.
yeah, good night.
Good night.
Cheers all.
Yeah.